This was the moment the APC cabals, the Tinubu's APC went to the United States asking for them to arrest, try and jail Jonathan over insecurity in Nigeria. And now the Tinubu's government is downplaying the killing of Christians, saying there's no insecurity in Nigeria. Now, I'm going to allow you to take a look at this video, but before then, take a look at this headline. It says, it was APC that went to the United States to report the country to the US government in 2014 about Christian killings that made US to start documenting such cases from then till now. This is coming from Arise TV journalist Mr. Sambo, saying the US, the APC and cabals, Tinubu inclusive, because they were all together when they went to the USA to convince the Obama's government to topple the government of Jonathan, and now the chicken has come home to roast and they are lamenting. So a whole lot of reactions coming from Nigerians, after the Tinubu's government tried to downplay the insecurity in Nigeria. Now take a look at this headline too. It also says that, breaking, Tinubu fearfully aborts Washington trip, lobbies to meet Trump at G20 summit scheduled for November 2022 in South Africa. So Tinubu is wanting to cancel the appointment, saying he wants to meet Trump. Tinubu doesn't want to go to the US. He wants to meet Trump in South Africa. But guess what? Before now, in September 5th, Trump told the entire world that he will not be attending the G20 meeting in South Africa. So Nigerians are wondering, why is Tinubu using South Africa to give excuse after knowing that Trump will not be part and parcel of that meeting? The Tinubu's government is using Trump to say that they are going to be meeting Trump in South Africa. I'm just going to allow you to take a look at some of the reactions from Nigerians. Take your time and watch this video and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. Thank you.
An urgent message from President Trump demanding Nigeria stop the brutal murders of thousands of Christians in the country or face possible action from the Pentagon. He posted in part, quote, "The USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities." Paul Adamu is a Nigerian Christian who was kidnapped by Boko Haram 2 years ago. He joins us now. It's so wonderful to have you on the show. Please tell us what happened to you.
It was such a disheartening situation. 2 years ago, I was kidnapped by the dreaded Boko Haram along my way to the airport while I was traveling to Cameroon to meet some of my colleagues, and then I got kidnapped along the line, along the route.
And you were held for how long?
12 days.
Okay. And there are many people, especially young girls, who have been kidnapped by Boko Haram, put into forced marriages, forced conversions. They're still in captivity. The situation there is quite dire. You heard what President Trump has said. Here's what Nigeria's president has said in response. He said that the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. What's your message? What's it like to be a Christian in Nigeria?
First, I want to thank and applaud the United States of American President Donald Trump for designating Nigeria as a CPC, because this is one of the things that we have always wanted. For the message of the Nigerian president, that I think at this point, I will say that there is a time when propaganda has no appeal, where propaganda has lost an appeal. And this is actually the time, because whatever is happening in Nigeria at this moment, I will say that Nigeria is the worst place to be as a Christian, like the worst place in the whole of the world to be as a Christian, because you wake up every day with news of killings. Every day with news of massacring of Christians. Is totally a genocide that is happening here in Nigeria. There is nothing anybody will tell me, because I have been in here for as long as I know. I've been in these places where these attacks have taken place, I've seen women who are crying for the loss of their husbands. I've seen children who are crying for the loss of their parents. I've seen parents who are crying for the loss of their children. I've been to churches that have been burnt down. These are not things that I've heard from the news or someone telling me. This is something that I witnessed somewhere. I've been myself. I've witnessed where terrorism is at the highest point, where people are killed and slaughtered like chickens every day.
Paul, I don't have a lot of time left, but I just want to ask you one last question. How have you and other Christians kept the faith during this persecution?
We are grateful for the organization I work with, Irish Global, who have taken it upon themselves to care for these persecuted Christians by providing relief materials, emergency kits, and then also providing them with discipleship, where they are being told that despite all that is happening to them, Christ still loves them.
Paul Adamu, just so you know, the African church, the Nigerian church in particular, the Christians there have been an amazing example of faith through persecution and martyrdom. And we are praying for all of you very much. And we hope the president will do something that will make a difference for your religious freedom in your country. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it, and God bless you.
Larry Madowo is with me now. So, Larry, tell me about the reality of what's happening in Nigeria.
Victor, these attacks are down to terrorism. Nigeria's population is evenly split between Christians and Muslims, and the attacks target both Christians and Muslims. And that's what Nigeria has been trying to say. A lot of this has been bubbling under in MAGA circles on the U.S. right, because it was an issue among some Christians in Nigeria. Boko Haram, which is a terrorist organization that operates in Nigeria's North Islamic State and West African province, they have carried out a lot of attacks. In some states, more Christians are killed. In other states, more Muslims are killed. And this is an issue that even President Trump's own senior African advisor, a Lebanese-American businessman who made his fortune in Nigeria, spoke about and dismissed. Watch.
People of all religions and all tribes are dying as a result of terrorist acts, but it's very unfortunate. We even know that Boko Haram and ISIS are killing more Muslims than Christians. So people are suffering from all sorts of backgrounds. This is not specifically targeted about one group or the other. However, any loss of life is too many. One is too many.
Victor, this has been a decades-old problem. It's about competition for resources between herders, who tend to be mostly Muslim, and Christians, who tend to be farmers. It's about cattle wrestling. And yes, there's a religious angle to it, but it does not rise to the level of a genocide or a mass slaughter.
Okay, so we heard there from an advisor to the president. What's the Nigerian government saying about these attacks?
The Nigerians are alarmed by President Trump's threat of sending troops to Nigeria. They say they have not heard from official diplomatic channels. All they have seen are the posts from President Trump on Truth Social and the Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, saying that they are ready. But before this latest threat came through, this is what President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria said. The characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. And President Tinubu added that Nigeria is working with the United States government and the international community to deepen understanding and cooperation on protection of communities of all faiths. But the big thing here, Victor, that the possibility of U.S. troops on a sovereign soil in Nigeria to stamp out terrorists.
Larry Madowo reporting from London. Thank you so much.
Let me start with you, Captain Bish. Now, given the declaration by President Trump, now what immediate diplomatic implication does that have, especially on our relation with the U.S., both countries, sovereign states?
Okay. Good morning, and thank you for having me. Let me begin this way. The truth of the matter is that we have security challenge in Nigeria. The truth of the matter is the fact that the security problem we have in Nigeria has been ongoing for nearly 2 decades. Fact, government is taking action to deal with the problem. Fact, has the problem been solved? Of course not. People are still being killed. Either they are kidnapped, their villages are ransacked, they are burnt. And this information is not only here in Nigeria. People in Washington, D.C., trust me, they know what is going on in Nigeria. They know what is happening in Nigeria, probably more than a lot of people in this country know. If there is no evidence to that, you should look to the WikiLeaks leaks that took place. You see that U.S. has this broad intelligence infrastructure that they can gather clandestinely intelligence from almost every country on the planet. What is going on there? Now, what is the immediate diplomatic implication? The implication, of course, is that, look, this offers Nigeria an opportunity to have an honest and genuine diplomatic discussion with this current administration. This administration, this U.S. administration, is like no other administration. It's even not like the Trump, what they call Trump 1.0, where he had experienced diplomats and the military officers that were advising him. This Trump 2.0 is completely different, right? This is an administration that shoots first before he asks questions. The previous time, he will ask questions before he will shoot. Now, we've had these challenges for a very, very long period of time. You had President Muhammad, before Muhammad Buhari, you had Goodluck Jonathan for 6 years. Now you have Buhari for 8 years. Now this current administration is now barely 2 years or 2 years. So if I'm one of those advising the current administration, as far as diplomacy is concerned, I would tell him not to try to take ownership of the previous administrations. I will not take ownership of Goodluck Jonathan and Muhammad Buhari's administration, because everybody know that they failed in dealing with the problem. I will only talk about my 2 years that I have been in office. Okay, and ask that, look, and this is what I have, and let Washington know that, look, this is within these 2 years, short period of time that I've been in office, these are the steps that we have taken to deal with this problem. But these are the challenges that we are facing. How can you come in to help us in dealing with these challenges? And not to dismiss that we don't have all these problems, because everybody knows that we have these problems in Nigeria. It's public notice.
Indeed, everybody understands that this is the challenges that Nigeria faces. And that's why you see some Nigerians publicly, applauding or welcoming Trump's comments, not because they endorse this foreign interference, but because they feel helpless, they feel unheard at home. What does that reaction reveal about public confidence in Nigeria's security leadership? Well, you see, it's also a fact that the confidence and trust of the public in their government in Nigeria has been declining for years. And this is driven mostly by the inability and the failure of, several administrations. Not this one, particularly the administrations that were before this, to have run in this insecurity that we're talking about. Everybody knows that it is the first order of business of any government is protection of lives and property. When any state fails to do that, then that state has failed in its responsibility. I have had people make the argument that this is a sovereign nation, the U.S. cannot come in. I agree, it's a sovereign nation. Now, within that sovereignty, there's also what is called the responsibility to protect. And that is that every sovereign nation must be able to protect all of its citizens and different classes of citizens. And where that sovereignty fails to do so, that international community has a responsibility to go there and protect those endangered class of people.
Okay. The honest truth is that people are dying in Nigeria. And it is very unfortunate that the government that is responsible for ensuring that there is safety for life and for property has not been able to provide that to Nigerian people. Now, President Donald Trump has decided to step in. A lot of people might view it as an overreach, which you might want to say is true. However, the fact remains that Nigerians are dying, and our government appears to be complicit in the list over this issue. And it is now become a global issue. So we're hoping that President Tinubu will take actions that will at least quell the issue. One of which I expect is there needs to be a high level of arrest, because it is completely impossible that the DSS does not have names of people who are sponsoring these attacks. We might want to say, oh, there are Muslims that are also being killed, because I've had conversations. I grew up in the north. I lived in Jos, and one of the reasons why I left Jos was because of the crisis. So it is very unfair when people say, oh, there's also killings of Muslims, which is true. But there's also the issue that some of this killing of Muslims are liberal Muslims. However, this is completely irrelevant. What is important is the Nigerian government tackling the issue. It is over 10 years now. Over 10 years. Nigeria Army led ECOMOG in West Africa to ensure that there was peace brought back to Liberia and in Sierra Leone. So Nigerian military is not inadequate to tackle Boko Haram or whatever military said. So what I think is very important and crucial right now is for President Bola Tinubu to, first and foremost, revoke any form of amnesty going to the Boko Haram members. And secondly, we need a high-profile arrest. I believe that this will quell the issue to a very large extent and at least give a sense to the global community that something is currently being done to resolve the issue. But if the APC government thinks that they're going to resolve this with some level of propaganda, or going to, like I was listening to the Senate president the other day when he was like, oh, they need to have a team go to the US to tell them that, oh, this is not just a Christian genocide, that people are just dying and people are being killed. I don't think that's acceptable. I think what needs to be done is there needs to be some level of high-profile arrest. There needs to be a revocation of the amnesty given to Boko Haram. And lastly, it is important that those who have been sent into IDP camps begin to return homes, and the government supports them to rebuild their communities and restart their lives.
Yes, Mr. Ode, I mean, thank you so much. I mean, you have also mentioned that you actually lived in Jos, the capital of Plateau State, where it has been a subject of these attacks for many, many years, historically. And then you've mentioned IDP camps as well. I've visited a few in Maiduguri and in Borno states generally, where I got to see a lot of Nigerians displaced and housed there for calling IDP camps homes for many years. So this conversation is really, really timely and sensitive as well. You would imagine that this threats from the U.S. President, the U.S. Department of War, the senators in the U.S., this, as you would imagine, over the weekend, the last 2 days, has unsettled Nigeria to a very large extent. But there are those who argue that there is a political undertone to Mr. Trump, and they say that this is not unconnected, or can't be pushed away from, or not connected to the 2027 elections, and that's the argument for some of them. The fact that it looks like because there is an election just around the corner, and whenever there's an election, we always get to see these kind of interests and play out. So I wonder how you'd respond to that. What exactly, perhaps, is the interest of U.S. President Mr. Donald Trump in this matter at this time? There's some also question the fact that we see there is some sort of agreement and compromise between U.S. President Donald Trump and the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, as well, where we understand maybe some of the natural resources in Ukraine, the U.S. would somehow have to explore some of their natural resources, and they say perhaps there's some sort of interest as well in our natural resources as well here. How do you respond to some of these arguments?
Again, if we want to discuss natural resources, it's a global market. Everybody has interest. The duty of Mr. President Donald Trump is to protect American interests all over the world. It is his responsibility, and I feel he's doing his job and he's doing it right. The problem we are having is our president protecting our interest. Is our president protecting our interest? The fact remains that whether we like it, whether we don't like it, there is a major issue. The minerals in the far north, there's a lot of mineral resources in the far north, but I believe it's an open market. And anybody who has interest, we're more than happy to have Americans come and trade with us. We're more than happy to have Chinese trade with us. So that is the least of our problem. But the fact is that Mr. Donald Trump has a responsibility to protect American interests. President Tinubu also has a responsibility to protect Nigerian interests. So at the end of the day, we can all come to the table and discuss.
Yes.
And when an issue of an election comes up to 2027, it doesn't negate the fact that Nigerians are being killed. And the government has not, in the last 10 years, been able to identify or hold anybody accountable for the killing of Nigerians. And it is even more sad that the Senate president came and sat down and said that yes, Nigerians are being killed, but it is not just Christians, that both Muslims are equally killed. And in my opinion, it's beginning to look as if it's a genocide against the poor. Because if you take the stock of the people who are being killed, it looks like it's just poor Nigerians who are living in rural communities. And whether we like it, whether we accept it, the fact is that it is Muslims, extremist Muslims, that are perpetrating these crimes. And it is not possible that these people are not funded by some interest, wherever or whoever they are. But I know for a fact that the Nigerian government knows who is funding Boko Haram. I also know for a fact that the US will probably have intelligence on what is also going on. So let us act right. It is long overdue. Mr. President, my appeal is take action, revoke whatever amnesty that is being given to the Boko Haram people. This is not the time to discuss amnesty. First and foremost, let us get the people in IDP camps back to their homes. Let us fund them to restart their lives. Then we can begin to discuss de-radicalization if and only when peace returns to these places. But we cannot be talking about assimilating a people who are taking up arms against the state and are killing Nigerians, and then we're funding them and also assimilating them into our military. And this is clearly has caused problem for the Nigerian army in itself, because there's been a lot of ambushing, there's been a lot of killing of our own gallant men and women in the armed forces due to this assimilation that has happened. So what is very, very important for us is for Mr. President to please take action. Let us find who are those who are sponsoring this crisis. It is disgraceful. It's sad that it has to be President Trump who is saying it, but it is disgraceful that for more than 10 years, we're not able to identify or we're not even able to hold anybody accountable, and these killings have gone on unabated. So whether the election is coming on in 2027 is irrelevant. What is important is that there's a man who is in charge, and his name is President Bola Tinubu. And it is very important for him to take responsibility and ensure that...
Mr. Ode, your final points can hardly be ignored because one would ask, what is the value of human life in Nigeria when people are killed unprovoked, and, the numbers are pretty unsettling. Sometimes we talk about 200, sometimes we talk about 100, and you wonder if indeed they're, people or animals. But let's go back to, let's remain with, what may be political undertones beyond the reality back here at home. Some would say this is an agenda that is being pushed by the Christian evangelicals in this current administration. And besides that, there's also the argument that, these Christian evangelicals, or if you like, the Republicans more appropriately, are the ones that are disposed to arms, and that concern that, the continued instability of in Nigeria is profitable to them because of the sale of arms. Well, under the first Trump administration, the laws were relaxed in favor of Nigeria and arms were sold to Nigeria. Is that also part of the narrative shaping this foreign policy disposition of the Trump administration to Nigeria?
Thank you again, Bukola. It's also very important that we understand what is going on. Mr. Trump is not acting alone. Neither are the American evangelicals acting alone. They're acting on the appeal of Nigerians. It is the Nigerian Christian community that have come to the United States after numerous calls for the Nigerian government to act. So whether the American government intends to sell arms, I don't even think it's appropriate to sell arms to the Nigerian government at this point. Because they sold it was between 2019 and 2020, there was a supply of the kanu jets. In fact, there's also big issues with the Nigerian Air Force, whether it was a mistake or I don't know what they said, had mistakenly bombed an IDP camp. So we need to be very careful at this point in time. We need to tread very, very, very carefully.
All right.
I do not support any country to invade us. I think it's an overreach. And I believe that it's timely for Mr. President to visit President Trump and have a conversation and assure him that Christians and every Nigerian will be protected.
Yes, this has really come with a whole lot of reactions from Nigerians after the Tinubu's government tried to, will I say deceive Nigerians that Tinubu is not going to be traveling again. He prefers to meet Trump in South Africa. Knowing that Trump will not be present at that meeting, Nigerians have really reacted. So the APC government keeps exposing itself as a government that cannot be trusted. Now, this person say an FBI customer can never attract respect from Trump. He should go get to work and end terrorism and stop looking for how to promise Trump some deals in exchange for time. So this person is actually saying that Tinubu is just looking for a way to promise Trump some deals instead of him going to do the work as in ending insecurity. So guys, a whole lot of reactions really. Nigerians are really reacting the way the government is downplaying all these things, Now Trump said there's genocide. Instead of you to say yes, there is, come and help us, you are trying to say there is none. And now videos are circulating anyway. It can no longer be denied. It can no longer be hidden. Ren Omokri must be hiding, Even Reverend Coker too must be hiding. All those people who came out to say there's no genocide, forgetting that we are living in an internet age where there's no secret anymore. Anything you say today can be brought up tomorrow just to becoming an evidence for you to see, and there's no way you can hide it. So it's just really too funny how the Tinubu's government is downplaying us instead of confronting it and say, Trump, really, we don't even know how this thing started. We don't know where to begin. We don't know how. Just admit your weakness and ask for help. In short, there's a way the Tinubu's government would have really approached this thing, and Trump would have really applauded the Tinubu's government. As the Tinubu has his name messed up in so many things, he always have golden opportunities to clean up his name, but he misuses it. You can imagine if Trump say, oh, the number being quite in Nigeria, and Tinubu will say, yes, we admit it, we are really being attacked by these people. They are coming from Libya, they are coming from all kinds of places, like the Buhari's government said. How can we fix it? Please come and help us. As in, every day Tinubu is having a press conference asking Trump for help. There's no way Trump will neglect. There's no way Trump will not come to help. But this one you denied and denied. Even till now, they keep denying that after all, Christians are being quiet, Muslims are being. Who is the person buying them? Now, let me read this one. This person say, Chai, APC propaganda. Trump never agreed to meet with Tinubu. He will meet with a once drug lord. Tinubu should stop disgracing himself further. He should eliminate the Fulani terrorists, and all this invasion threat will die down. Except he wants to lose them in 2027. And this person also say that, so after all Danebuala's mouth, Tinubu suddenly cancels his Washington trip and now begging to meet Trump in South Africa. Why the sudden fear of the US? Was he hiding or sponsoring? Insecurity fund trail catching up. Insecurity fund trade catching up. And this other person here said Trump already said he won't be going to the G20 summit in South Africa. APC is full of propaganda. I'm sure on the 22nd of November, APC with their lies will come up with Photoshop of Trump and Tinubu. I mean, this one makes sense, you know, but thank God Nigerians already know that Trump will not be in that meeting. This one says Trump has already declared he won't be going to the G20 summit. So where is Tinubu going to see him? Why is he so afraid of Trump? This person says so. No, Tinubu should go to America so that after the discussion they will address the press and answer direct questions. And I think this one is really good, you know, not just staying in Nigeria and be talking. Go to the US so that you have a press conference and tell the world what efforts you are putting in place in saving Christians, saving Nigerians. And this person says until Trump has already taken action before your approval, you know how fast it will have borne to make moves to clean the mess of insecurity in Nigeria. Why do you have to put fearful now? Like you don't have respect for commander-in-chief of the army and commander whatever, you know. Why can't Trump come to visit Tinubu? This is man to man and president to president. No one is scared of each other. This person is saying nobody is afraid of one another. So guys, a whole lot of reactions here. This person say, ha ha ha, our president is fearfully advised. Bulldog Trump for make news around the world. Oga Tinubu book for open on him, and he may not return as a president. So these are some of the reactions of Nigerians. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification. Thank you.